My parents told me to sell my house to bail out my felon brother. When I said no, they went nuclear. They smashed my childhood trophies, sent me a video of themselves burning my birth certificate, and told my friends I was institutionalized. Then they held a family reunion just to announce my exile. You're not one of us. You never were. I just smiled and nodded. That night, I started planning something that would tear their lives apart. Yesterday, it arrived. Now they're panicking. How could you do this to us? We need to fix this. Please let me start with the basics. I'm 31, with a steady job in IT and a small but decent house in the suburbs about 2 hours from the town I grew up in. Not flashy, but it's mine. Quiet neighborhood, reliable neighbors, the kind of place where people wave when they walk their dogs. I've been here 3 years now, slowly turning it into a space that feels like me. It's far enough from my parents to breathe, but close enough that they can still find a way to interfere when they want to. I'm the oldest of two, always the responsible one. Graduated college, kept my head down, never got into trouble. My parents used to call me their rock, until I stopped playing along. My brother, Brandon, is 28, the exact opposite. Charismatic when he wants to be, but reckless, entitled, and allergic to consequences. He dropped out of college, bounced between jobs, and has a long history of screwing up, somehow always landing on his feet because someone, usually me or our parents, cushioned the fall. He's got a rap sheet: petty theft, a DUI, and now something much worse. My mom, Diane, is dramatic to the core. Picture someone who cries during soap commercials and talks about loyalty like it's a religion. She sees herself as the glue holding the family together, even when she's the one swinging the hammer. My dad, Carl, is more old school. Quiet most of the time, but when he speaks it's either a sermon or a threat. I used to think he was wise. Now I just think he's tired and bitter. They always treated Brandon like the golden child, even when he was getting suspended from school and lying to their faces. Me, I was the dependable one, the one who didn't need saving, which made me invisible. About 2 months ago, during a regular workday, my phone rang. It was Mom. She never calls during the day, so I stepped out of my meeting to answer. No, hello. No, how are you? Just panic. Brandon had been arrested again. This time, it wasn't shoplifting or a bar fight. He was facing serious time for participating in a fraud ring, identity theft, forged checks, the works. The kind of thing that comes with actual prison time, not community service. He was out on bail, barely. My parents scrambled to pull together what they could. Apparently someone co-signed with a bond agent. But the court date was looming, and they wanted a real lawyer now, a high-powered one who charges 5 figures just to show up. And that's when they asked me to sell my house. Not help with bail, not lend some money. Sell my house to pay for a lawyer who might keep Brandon out of prison. I was stunned. Then I said no. Calmly, directly no. That's when things cracked. My mom immediately launched into guilt mode, accusing me of being heartless and uncaring. Dad jumped in, calling me ungrateful and too proud. Brandon even grabbed the phone at one point and screamed that I was leaving him to rot. I hung up, assuming they'd be mad for a few days and then move on. But I underestimated how far they'd go. A week later, my phone buzzed with a video from my mom. I opened it. Shaky camera footage of her and my dad in the garage. A cardboard box full of my childhood stuff, middle school trophies, old report cards, birthday cards, being smashed with a hammer. My dad held up my birth certificate, set it on fire in a trash bin, and looked dead into the camera. You're dead to us. That wasn't the worst part. They started calling my friends, telling them I'd had a mental breakdown, that I'd been institutionalized and wasn't in my right mind. One friend, confused and concerned, sent me a voicemail Mom had left her. We're just so worried, she said, her voice quivering. He's not well. We don't know what else to do. It was calculated, cold. And then came the family reunion. Yes, even with Brandon out on bail and a trial around the corner, they threw one anyway. They're always more worried about appearances than reality. I wasn't invited. My cousin Megan, the only family member with a spine, called afterward. She said she tried to speak up but got shut down. During the barbecue, my parents made a big announcement. They formally exiled me. Dad stood up in front of everyone, Brandon smirking beside him, and said, "He's not one of us." He never was. They turned me into the villain. I didn't yell, didn't post about it, didn't defend myself. I just smiled, nodded, and started planning. I don't throw tantrums. I don't beg. I build. And last night, after weeks of prep, my plan hit them hard. Now the group chats are blowing up. Mom's texting me nonstop. How could you do this to us? We need to fix this. Please. Brandon's called twice, scared now. They should be. I didn't sleep much the night after the reunion. Not because I was upset. By then, the anger had calcified into something colder. I was quiet, still focused. You don't survive a childhood like mine without learning to pay attention. My parents used emotion like a weapon. Yelling, guilt, gaslighting, silence. All sharpened to keep me off balance. But when you stop reacting, they lose their grip. So I stopped reacting and started taking notes. While they were busy burning my birth certificate and telling anyone who'd listen that I was mentally unwell, I was pulling documents, screenshots, phone backups, email threads, every bank transfer, every Venmo request. Every time I bailed Brandon out or sent money for emergencies. I'd kept records. I always do. I dug up a folder going back 10 years. Rent I covered when Brandon blew his paycheck on weed and sneakers. A used car loan I co-signed. Tuition money that disappeared mid-semester. My parents always said, family helps family. And I believed it, until they asked me to lose everything I'd worked for just to give Brandon one more soft landing. The final straw wasn't the house or the reunion. It was a voice memo Mom accidentally sent to our family group chat, meant for my aunt. She laughed and said, "He thinks we're really going to fix things with him. Please, we just need the house." Then she told Dad she'd cry a little in her next message, so I'd feel guilty. They both left. I didn't respond. I didn't delete the file either. Instead, I started working on what I now call the package. Over the next 4 weeks, I compiled everything. Copies of every payment I made for Brandon. Texts from my parents pressuring me for money. Evidence of their lies, including that voice memo. A notarized statement from a former neighbor confirming Brandon had threatened me the last time I said no. Then I wrote a letter, neither angry nor emotional, just clear. I explained that I was cutting all contact permanently and that I would forward the entire file to their church board. Dad's a deacon, Brandon's bail officer, and a few select family members who still believed their version of events. I also filed a cease and desist, citing harassment and defamation, and included a statement from my employer's legal department outlining that any further attempts to contact me or spread false claims would lead to litigation. The next part was my favorite. I mailed 3 hard copies, one to my parents, one to Brandon, and one to my aunt, who'd been at the reunion clapping during the exile speech. They arrived yesterday morning. By 5 p.m., my cousin Megan messaged me. Something's happening. Mom's flipping out, full meltdown. By 6:30, Dad left a voicemail, his voice shaking. We need to talk. This has gone too far. By 7 o'clock, Brandon texted me. How could you do this to us? By 8:15, Mom called sobbing. I made a mistake. I never meant to hurt you. By 9 o'clock, she sent the first of 7 consecutive texts. We need to fix this. You're scaring us. Please talk to us. They weren't sorry when they torched my childhood stuff or erased me from the family. They're only sorry now that I finally acted like I don't owe them anything. And for once, they have a right to be scared. By the next morning, it was clear the package had done more than sting. It detonated. I woke up to 19 missed calls, 5 voicemails, and 3 long emails. One was from the church board secretary asking for clarification about certain claims and documents I'd sent. I didn't respond. I didn't have to. The documents spoke for themselves, especially the voice memo. Dad had always cared about his image more than anything. Deacon, volunteer, father of 2, pillar of the community. So when the board heard him laughing about manipulating his son into selling his house to fund a felon's defense, it wasn't going to go unnoticed. Later that day, Megan texted again. They'd kicked Dad off the church board and were calling around begging people to ignore the lies. Too late. Good. But I wasn't done yet. There were still loose threads, connections I had to sever to make this permanent. First, I shut down our old family phone plan, which I'd been paying for since I was 24 and never stopped. Brandon's line, my parents, even my aunt's emergency phone gone. Service canceled, numbers recycled. Then the bank accounts. Years ago, I'd helped Dad set up a joint account for medical bills after his knee surgery. I removed my name, froze the account, and closed another one I'd opened in Brandon's name. He'd sworn he'd pay me back, but never did. I took the loss, but I wasn't leaving it open as a highway back into my life. Next, I reached out to the realtor who sold me my house, not to sell it, but to place it in a living trust. My house, my name, no one else. I also updated my will, power of attorney, and beneficiary list. Every document that once listed next of kin or emergency contact now reads, no contact, legal restriction. I even pulled my credit report and froze it. Brandon had used my name once before to open a credit card. He claimed it was a mistake. I let it go back then. Not anymore. The final move came at 3:37 p.m. on a Tuesday, when I sent an email to every family member who'd received a copy of the package but hadn't responded. I kept it brief. Please consider this notice of permanent disconnection. Any future attempt to involve me in Brandon's legal or financial matters will be treated as harassment and forwarded to my attorney. This includes emotional manipulation, third-party outreach, or attempts to contact my employer, friends, or any person I am associated with. I wish you peace. Please grant me the same. Within 10 minutes, I got 4 out-of-office auto-replies, but one stood out. My aunt wrote back, "You've lost your mind. I see now you finally found it. Proud of you." Still, I wasn't angry. I was empty, not hollow, just cleared out, like finally cleaning a room you didn't know was rotting from the inside. They were still spiraling. Brandon's court date was approaching, and the public defender wasn't getting it done. They needed that big-shot attorney. They needed money. But I'd already removed the escape hatches and wasn't coming back to rebuild what they chose to burn. They could blame me all they wanted. But the truth was simple. They made me choose between them or me, and for the first time in my life, I chose me. Brandon's trial date came and went. I didn't go, of course, but I watched quietly from the outside. The public defender did what he could, but with prior offenses, a digital trail, and witnesses no longer afraid to speak, there was only so much a lawyer could do. He took a deal, 5 years, no parole for 3. They blamed me, of course, said I abandoned him. Said if I'd just sold the house, he could have had a real defense, a chance, a future. They never once asked why Brandon was in court to begin with, never mentioned the victims or acknowledged the pattern, because in their minds, the only real crime was disloyalty. So I committed one final act of disloyalty. I debated it for weeks, but when I heard Dad telling people I'd had mental episodes and was institutionalized at 17, I wasn't. I'd gone to grief counseling for 4 sessions after my friend's death. I made my decision. I wrote a letter not to them but to their community, neighbors, church, workplace colleagues. I wrote carefully, included documents, copies of emails, financial records, even the video of them burning my birth certificate. I stated the facts plainly, no name-calling, no threats, just the truth, and mailed it anonymously. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, it's been quiet. Too quiet. No more calls, no more messages, no sudden visits from extended cousins trying to play peacemaker. Just silence. Then yesterday, I got a package, no return address. I almost didn't open it. Inside was a shoebox filled with ash and melted metal, my childhood trophies, what was left of them, and a note taped to the inside lid in my mom's handwriting. "This is all that's left of you." I stared at it for a while, not upset, not shaken, just tired. So I took a deep breath, closed the box, walked it to the backyard, and tossed it in the trash, the bin that goes to the dump. Then I turned and went back inside my house, my home, where I have peace and silence, and no one left to ask me to burn it all down for someone else.